The best way to face the unknown is with information. And of course, the first strategy, after receiving the diagnosis, must be to seek that information. In this channel we have already talked about Alzheimer's, so I leave the link here, which may be a good starting point. If we want to extend that information, I leave below the description some link to deepen the subject. Once we have an idea of what we're dealing with, it's a matter of taking care of receiving regular medical care, whether it's to follow up with a family doctor, get appointments with specialists, or go to specialized centers. In addition to medical care, it is important to know what support resources are available in your area. The gateway is usually the municipality's social services center. There we will be provided with a complete inventory of the benefits, services, programs and resources available in the community, both public and private. There is a lot to ask about, so I will also leave a document down here in the description to serve as a checklist of issues to collect information on. The next thing to consider is legal and financial planning, as well as long-term care. At some point, someone will need to be appointed through a power of attorney to make legal, financial and health care decisions on behalf of the person with Alzheimer's. If this is not done, it may be necessary to promote the person's incapacity through the courts by appointing a guardian. This procedure can be more difficult and expensive, and there is no control over the person appointed as guardian. I leave here above a link to the video where we discuss this procedure. For long-term care, aside from having a healthcare proxy, it is highly recommended to have an advanced living will or living will that states what kinds of care are preferred if you are unable to make decisions. For example, whether and under what circumstances you want CPR performed. It is worth mentioning that it is best to make a will, other than a living will, when you are fully capable, and that if your estate is large and complex to administer, it may be a good idea to assign, through a living trust, preferably one that is revocable, a trustee to distribute property and money. Apart from this, but in relation to planning for long-term care, it is important to learn about the care that will be needed, its cost, which is usually very high, and how to deal with it. There are many formulas, such as reverse mortgages, or renting one's home through a specialized agency that provides housing, care, and collects rent. As we can see, there is a lot to think about and to take advice on after receiving the diagnosis. Thinking about the long term is fine, but this has to be combined with more immediate decisions, which affect day-to-day life. Taking written notes, using medication dispensers, and writing down medical appointments on a calendar are all good helps. If you can count on the help of family, friends or neighbors, you will be in a better position to continue to maintain a high degree of autonomy for longer. On the other hand, there is no reason to give up on the technological aids available, especially to alert you if something goes wrong, and to know where to turn for help. In this regard, it is important to emphasize the importance of maintaining security, both at home and while driving, and therefore we have already made a video, which I leave here linked. Now, if you live alone, you must take additional measures, such as having someone visit you regularly, and serve as an emergency contact, take precautions to avoid falls, and make the necessary changes to stay in the house longer, with the usual activities, but simplified as much as possible. In the event that Alzheimer's has occurred during our working lives, a reduction in hours and/or responsibilities could be considered. And, If necessary, apply for reserved disability benefits. That's all for today. I hope I've been helpful. Thank you very much, and until the next video.